Have you ever wondered how we measure the health of an entire country's economy? It's not as simple as looking at a bank's balance sheet or a company's profits. We need a bigger picture, a single number that encapsulates all economic activity. That number is gross domestic product, or GDP. So what is GDP? In its simplest form, GDP is the total monetary or market value of all final goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period, usually a year or a quarter. Let's break that down. Final goods and services means we don't count things used in the production of other goods. For example, we count the finished car, but not the steel or tires used to make it. That prevents double counting. And within a country's borders is important. It's about where the production happens, not necessarily who is doing the producing. Why is GDP so relevant, especially for an American audience? Well, it's a key indicator of economic performance. A rising GDP generally means the economy is growing, creating jobs and increasing incomes. A falling GDP can signal a recession, meaning job losses and economic hardship. It influences everything from your job security to the stock market and even government policy. Politicians often talk about GDP growth because it's a benchmark for how well they're managing the economy. Plus, comparing GDP between countries helps us understand the relative economic power and living standards around the world. Let's look at how GDP is calculated. There are a few different approaches, but the most common is the expenditure approach. This basically adds up all the spending in the economy. The formula is GDP equals C plus I plus G plus X M. Let's break that down even further. C stands for consumption. This is all the money spent by households on goods and services, things like groceries, clothes, entertainment, and doctor visits. This usually makes up the largest chunk of GDP, around 68% in the US. I stands for investment. This isn't just financial investments like stocks and bonds. It's business investment in things like new factories, equipment, and housing. It's important for long-term economic growth. G stands for government spending. This includes everything the government spends money on, things like infrastructure, education, defense, and public employee salaries. Finally, we have X, M. This is net exports. X represents exports, the goods and services produced domestically and sold to other countries. M represents imports, goods and services bought from other countries. We subtract imports from exports because we only want to count goods and services produced within our borders. Let's use a simplified example. Imagine a tiny island nation called Isla Paradise. In 1 year, households spend $500 million on consumption. Businesses invest $100 million in new equipment. The government spends $150 million on building a new school and maintaining roads. Isla Paradise exports $80 million worth of bananas and imports $50 million worth of electronics. To calculate Isla Paradiso's GDP, we'd add $500 million C plus $100 million I plus $150 million G plus $80 million $50 million XM. That equals $780 million. So Isla Paradiso's GDP for the year is $780 million. Now let's talk about real versus nominal GDP. Nominal GDP is calculated using current prices. This means it can be affected by inflation. If prices go up, nominal GDP will go up, even if the actual amount of goods and services produced stays the same. That's why economists often use real GDP. Real GDP adjusts for inflation, giving us a more accurate picture of economic growth. It uses prices from a base year to calculate the value of goods and services, eliminating the impact of price changes. GDP isn't a perfect measure. It doesn't account for things like environmental damage, income inequality, or the value of unpaid work like childcare or volunteer work. It primarily focuses on market transactions, so it misses a lot of important aspects of well-being. However, it's still the most widely used and accepted measure of a country's economic size and performance. For the United States, GDP is a massive number, currently over $27 trillion. It's the largest economy in the world, significantly larger than China, Japan, and Germany. Tracking U.S. GDP growth is crucial for understanding the overall health of the global economy. A strong U.S. economy generally benefits other countries through trade and investment. In summary, GDP is the total value of goods and services produced within a country's borders. It's calculated by adding up consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. Real GDP adjusts for inflation, giving a more accurate picture of economic growth. While it's not a perfect measure, GDP remains a vital indicator of a country's economic health and size. It helps us understand economic trends, compare economies, and make informed decisions about the future. Remember, this information is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial professional before making investment decisions.